Hello, pond people. Frogopolis here, and welcome to Found Footage
Madness,
where I highlight the good, the bad, and the bizarre of the found footage genre. My first movie on this journey is going to be Jeffery's Hell, directed by Aaron Irons, who also directed Chest from 2022, which I also thought was pretty good. This is a meta-mockumentary as it follows Aaron himself getting lost and looking for the mythical cave called Jeffery's Hell. We get these interviews with the actors and crewmates from the movie Chest. And I love this kind of story when it's done well, and I can tell you now that it's done very well here. The build-up to finally finding out what actually happened to Aaron really hooked me. There's all these little details that make you go, huh? Like how the cave he found doesn't seem to exist, and the fact that the footage of everything that happened was found in a completely other country. And then we get to the footage itself, and they were able to find this fantastic setting to film in. The footage of him simply entering the cave and searching around is nerve-wracking enough, because if you've seen enough documentaries and heard enough stories, you know how naturally dangerous it is. But there's also something really cool about someone going into the unknown and discovering these areas no one would see otherwise. I can see why it's appealing. I would love to see a behind the scenes for this movie. And then on top of that, there's all the cool and creative things when the other horror sets in. When we start seeing the unexplainable and the laws of time and space go right out the window. And of course I have to talk about Aaron Irons himself, who does a great job selling all of this. Even if none of the crazy supernatural stuff happened afterwards, there's still this very effective story of somebody getting lost caving, and that's terrifying. Watching his sense of wonder and exploration slowly turn into the horrifying realization that he's stuck there is really well done. Being in the found footage format, we feel just as claustrophobic and lost as he would be. I won't be getting into spoiler territory because my purpose of doing this video is to highlight lesser known found footage films so you'll check them out hopefully. Especially with a movie like this where there's just all these fun surprises and you wonder, cool, how did they do that? Jeffery's Hell is the kind of movie that reminds me why I love indie films so much. The creativity and passion here is great. There's something special about seeing what people can make on their own budget and without the interference of a big studio. And I greatly admire that. It goes without saying that I very much enjoyed this movie. I very much look forward to whatever Aaron Irons releases next. Our next movie is Don't Peek, about a vlogger couple that find mysterious videotapes when they move into a new house. This is a movie I was very pleasantly surprised by, because while it's certainly not perfect, it does all the usual tropes very well. Because we've seen this before, a vlogger or a group of vloggers come across something creepy, and then they start doing all this reporting on it because it gives them views, until they start getting haunted or stalked by some guy, and then usually they all die. What makes Don't Peek work, besides this being well made, is the fact that the couple is engaging to watch. The husband plays a perfect selfish asshole, and you feel sorry for the wife who's conflicted about the relationship. A lot of the time when you get these couples or groups of friends and their relationship, it usually falls flat and you end up hating them and just want to skip to the spooky stuff. But, at least for me, I think this worked very well along with the spooky stuff. Speaking of spooky, there's some really good tension and atmosphere in this movie. There's something so naturally unnerving about the thought of somebody walking around your house as you're sleeping and videotaping you. The main antagonist is pretty goofy looking to begin with, but he grew on me during the movie like a fungus. They're able to connect his story with the couple's very well by the end, especially with a particular twist I won't spoil that I thought really elevated the movie. Saying that, this movie certainly has its issues. I do think it dragged on for a bit too long, and it had one too many cliches for me to say that it's great. It's good though. I think it's well worth a watch. There's nothing too new or fancy here, but if you're looking for a movie like this, then this is probably your best bet. I would also like to suggest the movie Death of a Vlogger, which follows a lot of the same tropes, but is also just really well done and engaging. The last movie I want to talk to you about today is The Ceremony is About to Begin. A movie that's on its surface a cult movie, but in reality is just a great dark comedy. This movie begins with testimonials from previous members of the Osiris Collective, a cult that follows a very loosely interpreted form of ancient Egyptian beliefs. Based in Northern California. Right off the bat, the satire is evident, and I love how it's presented to you through these testimonials as you gradually learn just how ridiculous their belief system was, and how obvious a bad person their leader is. What I really like about this movie is that it's a clear parody of cult movies while still being a good cult movie. The turning point for the cult and the story is when a new member called Anubis shows up and quickly raises up the ranks, eventually replacing the old leader after a mysterious death. The man making this documentary is called Keith. He started it because he got a letter from an ex-girlfriend who left him to be with this cult. Despite being several years later and being married, Keith still seems to have feelings for her. He then gets an email from Anubis, who knows he's making this documentary and invites him to come on over. So Keith drops everything and goes there in hopes of seeing a woman who he hasn't talked to in several years. You know, for the documentary, of course. Boyfriends and husbands have a really bad track record in this genre. When Keith gets to the compound, nobody's there, except for Anubis. I love this guy, he's such a fun antagonist. He works so well off Keith. Their interactions and the story going forward is just so funny and equally terrifying. It's a good mix of suspense and comedy because Anubis isn't taking any of this seriously and is just treating it like a fun get-together, but you know eventually the mask is going to drop and we're going to get to the big reveal. It's all just a really fun time. Thank you for joining me in this journey of my first found footage
Madness.
I would like to do more of these in the future as I'm always finding cool stuff and want to share it with you. Hopefully some of the stuff I talked about today you go and check out. I think they're all really good in their own way and these people deserve the attention. If you know any found footage movies, I'd love to hear about them. Thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, like and subscribe or leave a little comment. Either way, I'm just happy you stopped by and I will see you next time. Bye!